All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. We have a presentation on the quarterly that has just completed and an outlook ahead for Aureka Limited. And delivering a presentation here will be the Managing Director, James Gurry, and the Chief of Exploration, Sir Joseph Story. First of all, we'll go through the presentation, and then we've got a video to look down deeper underground. I'll hand it over to you, James.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Peter. It's great to host this webinar. And if people think it's a good idea, we think we might do it quarterly after our regular quarterly updates come out, because it is a good opportunity for us to recap what we've done, the business strategy, and where we're going forward. And it's a great pleasure of mine to introduce Joseph to our investors for the first time. As you know, Joseph started a couple of months ago with us, coming over from Barrick Gold, and where he was managing quite a large exploration team in Tanzania and Africa. We're very privileged to attract him to our company as we go forward. And as we know, we've also got a large portfolio across Victoria, and there's plenty of work for Joseph to do. So it's great to have him on board. I might just run through a couple of slides first. As you know, there's plenty of competent person statements, and we do have exploration targets out there, so please take note of the disclaimers. But a lot of you will be familiar with our snapshot slide that we show here. We have got a number of new investors recently, so it's good to have a refresh, as well as bring people up to date on where we're at. As I said last week in my investor presentations, I really like to think of our company at the moment as having two key projects that we're operating. Obviously, the Stall Corridor project, featured by the Irvine project, where we have the large JORC resource of 304,000 ounces at 2.43 grams, and also 77 k's to the northwest is the Sanana project, where we've also been drilling recently. So it's pleasing to be, at the moment, drilling both those projects that we operate. In addition to the two key projects that we have the Tandara joint venture, 49% of that joint venture in the Bendigo zone. So they're probably our key assets at the moment, and the assets that everyone is most familiar with. And they're certainly the key assets that we've been focused on so far this year. Remember the other key attributes. We've put together a terrific team. I just spoke about Joseph. We're obviously rebuilding and gaining a lot of momentum now operationally, and we're well set up as we go forward, which is terrific. I might just throw open to the video now, if I can play this, and it'll give you a good overview of our activities and what we're up to. So as you can see, I don't think the sound's coming through, but obviously our key project is only a couple of hours from Melbourne, and we certainly hold what is considered to be the camp scale tenements south in the Stall Corridor. You can see the Stall Magdala Gold Mine. That's only 16 kilometres from our key project, and our Resolution and Adventure make up the JORC resource that we do have. Remember, the geological features through here really are about the basalt domes, and these are the basalt domes that have been identified across our areas, and it's the Irvine basalt dome where we have the Resolution and Adventure. Good representation of a slide that you would have seen elsewhere of our JORC resource. This is quite a good picture showing the historic drilling, but also the current drilling that we are doing here with, these are the holes that we've been drilling since the start of the year, and we'll be finished this hole in the coming days. We've reported the results that we've had to market so far, which is good. And as I said, we're finishing off the last hole around the resolution deposit. Really gives people a good picture of what we've got. And you can see on the right-hand side there, that was the Melbourne to Adelaide Highway. So it's very well positioned, the project overall. There's plenty of other domes for us to explore into the future. But at the moment, we're focused obviously at the Irvine project and Resolution and Adventure. And the video will show just the Lange Logan discovery that was made about 4 or 5 years ago. 3 high-grade hits that the previous team reported to market, and we look forward to following up on that in due course in the year ahead. But also now, that's quite a good representation of where we're at. But also the Sanana project, quite exciting for us, given that it is a very large field, as people can see. And we're focused on the Comstock pit, the old open pit there at Comstock. And we had some results out mid last week, which were quite pleasing to see. So this shows the areas of mineralisation and the focus at Comstock. And people will note that during the quarter, we did have the exploration target and the small starter JORC resource, 56,500 ounces reported a couple of months ago. So it was very pleasing to get out an initial JORC resource on a second project. And this project is also, as the movie shows and our maps show, is quite well located relative to other mills in Victoria. Can be, and it's only a short drive from our core shed at Stawell up to St Arnaud and back, where we obviously bring the core back every day. Plenty of other targets around the other old workings in the St Arnaud field, and we look forward to following those up also in the months ahead. All right. We won't go through the other 2 projects, but I think that gives you a good overview of where we're at and what we're doing right now. So just to wrap up the quarter, the key things that we did during the quarter, obviously in April, we announced the start of drilling at St Arnaud. Shortly thereafter, we announced our initial mineralisation that we found on the western flank of the Irvine basalt at the Irvine project. So that was quite unique and terrific for us, given that all the previous mineralisation in the JORC resource is located on that eastern side of the Irvine basalt. And the mineralisation here on the western flank really is quite significant for us. It gives us some new targets around the Irvine basalt outside the JORC resource and outside the existing exploration target area. So we look forward to definitely following that up in the months ahead. We had Joseph's appointment announced in May, and I'll let Joseph speak in a minute. But also later in May, we increased our global JORC resource from 304,000 ounces up to over 360,000 ounces, just based off the historical work that we had inherited around the St Arnaud project. So at 1.2 grams per tonne, the JORC resource, 56,500 ounces. It's a lowish grade, but it is in an existing pit that was last mined in 1995. So we look forward to growing that. And obviously, as you've seen in our recent updates, we've been drilling at St Arnaud over the last few months. We've got quite a number of holes now, so we look forward to having further results, as well as the results that we announced mid last week. We were very well supported and privileged to be supported by a number of new investors and existing investors, bringing in $3 million to support our strategic initiatives and the ongoing exploration, and that was in June. And we also, soon after in June, announced the mineralisation that we had found in the exploration target area in those deep holes that we initially drilled around Irvine. So just to talk about some of these achievements during the last quarter, Joseph, I might just hand over to you and maybe you can talk through RD45, the wedge hole, and where we're up to.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, James. Good morning, everyone. So yeah, just to reiterate on what James said, I've joined the company just recently in the last couple of months. Spent around 4 years with Barrick working on primarily their Tanzanian deposits, but also did some work in Cote d'Ivoire. I managed a team that was consolidating large ground in orogenic style mineralization, not too dissimilar to what we're looking at. It's greenstone hosted, propagating along shears. So that was our primary goal. I've also had that same orogenic experience in China in polydeform systems of orogenic nature as well. And obviously, I started my career in Victoria working on the Fosterville gold deposit. Long before it was the beast that it is now, it was a small open pit operation, several pits in a heap leach operation when I was there. I did 2 stints at Fosterville. I was there early on in the early 90s or mid 90s, and then in the early 2000s when they did the primary drill out for what became the sulfide deposit. So I'm very used to these types of geological settings, and obviously the large portfolio. And James explained to me as well why I was interested in coming back home and working a lot closer to home, but also on some exciting growth opportunities as well. So James alluded to earlier, so primarily we had focused on the eastern side of the basalt dome here. And while we were drilling down to target deep mineralization, we've had a hit higher up on the western side. So this opens up a brand new area for us. It's basically a new discovery in the sense that nobody had picked up mineralization in this neck of the woods anyway, on that western flank. They're starting to see something similar at Mcnullah in Stawell, where they're getting mineralization on both sides. So it's a target for them as well. So we see this as a growth opportunity. We've only had 1 hole in it, and yeah, okay, the grades aren't screaming at the moment, but we're showing that it's fertile, and that if we can show that there's a propagating structure that's carrying mineralization, it does have the potential to become much bigger. And clearly we'll do that over the coming exploration period. So that's another target. But we're following up on some holes that we drilled. We drilled a hole 45 and a wedge. Unfortunately, they look like they probably intersected below the system there. So the hole 46 we designed, and we're just finishing that hole, as James said. Actually, we just finished that hole yesterday. So we'll be in the process of, we've shown that the structure's there. We've intersected the structure. It's got positive mineralization in the sulfide context. So we're hoping that those grades, those sulfide mineralizations will carry gold mineralization with it. But we have intersected the structure, which is promising. So we're showing that we have got propagation along strike of the structures, and hopefully we've got the down plunge intersection of gold mineralization as well.
And that's in the exploration target area in relation and extending on from the current JORC resource area.
Yeah, that's beyond the current JORC resource. That's right. Those blue lines there, they're representative of the target area we've been focusing on. So we're stepping out, trying to grow the down plunge extensions to the resolution lode. We're looking at the adventure lode. Obviously, we can't drill everywhere. We've got 2 drill rigs drilling, which is a lot for a small company like us. We're wary of the cost of running 2 drill rigs. So we want to drill in areas where we'll get the most benefit. So we've going to move that drill hole further into the north, and target some higher up portions of the mineralized that we're testing higher up in the mineral resource. So we're going to see if we can extend the mineral resource higher up in the system. Now those are 2 sort of 300-meter holes, so that should generate some positive news flow over the coming months, rather than sort of the long deep holes which we sit on for quite some time. As I was about to allude to adventure, we're looking at the geology there. We've noticed that we don't have the robust geological models quite in place. Like Navarre did a good job of identifying key areas, but we really need to get the geology under control. it's one thing that previous jobs that I've had in these environments, if you understand the geology, the targets present themselves, and the mineralization becomes a lot easier to trace in drill holes. So we're looking at the geology and seeing if we can fine tune some of the things that can better target adventure. And that's the same at St Arnaud as well. We're doing a stratigraphic study of the sediments there. We're going to see if we can focus on the higher grade portions. We think it's got a steep plunge to it, so understanding the stratigraphy there will really guide us in our targeting opportunities and produce, hopefully continue to produce those high grade hits.
Yeah, do you want to run through the hits that we had in the middle of last week that we reported after we presented at the Noosa Mining Conference?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think it was a terrific achievement by the exploration team and the resource geologists to come out with the exploration target and the small JORC resource that we have here at the Comstock pit. The unique thing and the good thing about the Comstock pit is certainly that it's located on Crown land, giving us terrific ease of access, and we're working very well with Parks Victoria as the team have been located here on the western side, and we've had the drill rigs. They're just up here at the north. So the drill hole that we did report were these two on the left-hand side as I look at it, Joseph.
Yeah, that's right. So the initial hole was targeting both mineralization on it's in an intersection point. You can see the pit blows out there in the southeast there, and there's two structures coming in. So the hole number one was designed to try and target down dip mineralization on those structural interceptions. So we did hit that. We did hit multiple high grade zones, which was positive. It's showing that we're the down dip continuity to the Comstock shear and the mineralization along it. So and within those multiple hits, we had some nice elevated grades, like up to 18 and 19 grams per ton, which is really positive. It shows that there are significant high grade portions of this, and they're not alone. We've seen them in higher up in the system as well, like 13.9 grams, etc. So it's really positive news that we're showing that there's down dip mineralization on this beyond the current MRE, and you can see that it is outside that MRE box, those hits. So they're down dip. It's difficult to see in plan view, but in sectional view there, we've got a long section, which is you can see the BB dash marks on the plan view where that slices through. So our targeting of the north, we were looking at a long strike potential. In those drill holes, we've shown that the structure is continuing. Whether there's mineralization, the assays will let us know, but we are seeing some very positive responses in that. We know that it's a propagating system beyond the pit. So there's a lot of scope to grow. And like I said, we're working on the stratigraphical model now, and if we can build out some marker beds and understand plunge potential, it'll enable us to hopefully zoom into those high grade areas, because that's where we see the value. We can show more of that high grade intercept and improve those intercepts and where they're actually plunging to. They will greatly increase the mineral resource at St Arnaud.
Just and just for clarity, Joseph, so we reported the higher grade hits close to 20 grams per ton from this first hole location here. That was drilled about a month ago, and then the drill rig was moved up here to the north and is completing. It's at least 3 holes it's 4 holes that you can see that we've indicated there. So we're completing at least those 4 holes at the moment. And
the 2 light blue ones, James, they're where the drill rig's moving to now. So we're targeting some mineralization again along strike of where we've had the hits. So we're hopefully we're trying to grow that mineral resource.
So in total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially another 2 on top of that. So lots of holes being done there at St Arnaud. And the key feature about St Arnaud, maybe I'll flick forward, is this is a good picture of the Comstock pit where we are drilling at the moment. I did say that it is on Crown land. Obviously, it resembles a bit of a mine site currently, or a previous mine site. So, as we said in the announcement that was related to the initial or the maiden JORC resource in relation to Sananad, here at Comstock, we describe this as our potential early starter project, the potential pathway for getting this into production. Obviously, could be a little bit easier compared to any other, say, greenfield project in Victoria. It's also located quite close to main roads and everything like that. So access has been very good for the team. We're looking at it from north to south. So the drill rig is located just in front of where we're standing there on the pit. The first hole was drilled down to the left where my cursor is at the moment, and the drill rig is moving over into a location within these trees in the coming days, isn't it, Joseph? So
just moved, yeah, it's there
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Okay, so we're really attacking the Comstock pit to increase our understanding there quite significantly. So that's a good summary of what we've been doing at Comstock. Just to take stock of where we were at the start of the year and where we are now, given that we're halfway through the year. We accelerated the continuous exploration program that we embarked on at the start of the year. And that's, as Joseph was saying, we've got 2 rigs in operation right now, which is terrific. So it was good to step up that activity while the gold price is good, conditions are good, and we could secure the drill rigs that we did. So obviously the holes at Comstock, Sananad, are a little bit shorter than the very long holes and the holes that take quite a bit of time around the Irvine project. But that should be reflected a little bit different in the second half of the year. Now, as we go forward, a few slides ago, I ran through what we've achieved year to date, or the key announcements that we've had out year to date. I think as people look forward, it's important to keep in mind what we're up to over the coming quarter and the second half of the year. As we've alluded to, we'll finish off the current programs that we're doing around resolution. Those deep holes will be finished off, as Joseph said, the hole finished yesterday. And at Sananad, we'll be finishing off that program probably by the end of August, by the end of this month. So we look forward to completing those and then moving the drill rigs into their next position. I've got red circles around the areas here. Joseph spoke to a little bit of the potential that we have to revisit the adventure lode in due course. And importantly, part of our strategy and long-term de-risking strategy around the main project, the Irvine project there, was to get better access into this area between the 2 lodes. It's 2 kilometres where there has been limited exploration in the past. So we have purchased a couple of properties around here, which will give us terrific access. And there's also other potential areas managed by Parks Victoria, which also they happen to be old gold mine workings, which is terrific. So there's quite a bit of potential that we could do in terms of focusing between these 2 lodes into the future, as well as moving the drill rig back onto the key thing about what we really want to achieve in the 4th quarter of this year, as is the 3rd item mentioned here, is another update to our global JORC resources, this time focusing on the Irvine project, incorporating the results that we will have back for the 45 and 46, and also the other drilling that we plan to do over the coming weeks and months into the areas here around resolution, so that we can focus on increasing our knowledge of the resolution lode, and penetrating some new areas, but also giving us more confidence in the JORC resource, and potentially pushing towards having all the resource in the inferred category and increasing our confidence levels there amongst the JORC resource. So that's our target for later in the year and in the fourth quarter, as we complete the current programs and move the drill rigs, focusing on at least another 2,000 meters of drilling in and around the resolution lode. And then we'll see where we end up in terms of penetrating some of this area between the lodes and Adventure. We also reported a couple of weeks ago results, it was more than a couple of weeks ago, but results from the Tandara joint venture. I'll be working with our project partners on a go-forward program for the coming financial year there. So we look forward to working with Catalyst on that as we go forward, because it's a very exciting area in the Bendigo zone there. And obviously some of our peer groups have also had some recent success in this area just north of the Bendigo goldfields. So it's always an interesting area, obviously, in that Bendigo zone. So Peter, that's a bit of a wrap, I think, of the quarter, what we've got planned coming up. We had a bit of a look through that video there, but over to you perhaps for any questions or comments that you might have or from participants.
I will. Thanks, James. Thanks, Joseph. We do have a few questions. I'm going to start with the Comstock pit myself. When was mining or production completed from here, and what sort of existing permitting is there that allows perhaps a faster track to your own production from there, should you expand that resource?
Yeah, certainly. Mining at the Comstock pit was, from our understanding and our research, was continuous up until around 1995, and then has had a number of previous owners since then. So obviously the area is managed by Parks Victoria. The licensing and everything has lapsed since then, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of disturbed ground, and there's good access. There are dirt tracks all around it, but not far is a bitumen highway. So because it is on that Crown land, and there's not that many residents within the immediate area, and we've been in very good contact with the community surrounding the area, thanks to our community relations team who are doing a terrific job. But as I said, Peter, it's probably the one where not only ourselves, but some of the other operators in Victoria, they do come to us and point to it as certainly having potential for near-term production. And by that, I mean that an easier pathway to bring it into production compared to a greenfield project within the state. So we don't want to get ahead of our skis, but certainly I think you can appreciate from our visuals here. We'll have further photos to show in the future around what the whole thing looks like, but certainly it would be an accelerated pathway to production, potentially, compared to other greenfield mines in Victoria.
Thanks, James. I have another Comstock question from one of our audience, probably for Joseph. At Comstock, we've made mention of stockworks and also shears. There are some parallels in the host to Stawell. Low temperature style impressions and IRG are taken from Stawell area. What similarities and differences exist between Stawell and the Adventure, Resolution and Irvine corridor? It's a bit of a mixed question there.
Okay, so Comstock is different. I mean, we don't see the basalt domes up there. It's sediment hosted. So there was reports of dikes, so just maybe some lamprified dikes, evidence of mantle tapping. So that's sort of indicative of fertility, but it's a different style of mineralization to what you see around Stawell. Obviously, it's around Irvine, say the Resolution Adventure. That's targeted more Stawell-like mineralization, where you've got the basalt, interpreted basalt domes and structures on those rheological contrasts with the sediments and the basalt dome. So you get a rheological contrast. You get the the propagating structure. So there's a orogenic effect, if you like, so a structure from an orogenic event, and that is activating mineralization on that structure, and those rheological contrasts are what we believe are controlling the mineralized zones.
Thanks, Peter. You probably answered this question from one of our esteemed Victorian analysts who welcomes you on board at Aureka. Mr. Arden says, in terms of the targeting of high-grade mineralisation at Irvine and St Arnaud, you haven't said much about the geological structure of the targets. Can you say a bit more about that, and in particular, if dilation zones are key targets and how you're going about identifying them?
Sure thing. Like I said, I've only been with the company for 8 weeks, and this is one of my key things. I said earlier that we want to build robust geological models. I think one thing that I've come in and seen, I think Navarre did a great job of identifying the ground and having the target models. But on a prospect level, I think there's a lot of work that can be done on building those robust geological models. So I agree. It looks like there's potential, yes, where you get those rheological contrasts and you get sort of shifts in the structure, you can get dilations. We're still understanding all that, so I'm still building that knowledge, and that's one of the things we want to do moving forward, is build that robust geological understanding, because then the targeting becomes a lot easier.
Joseph,
I'll just say, Peter, with Rod Boucher and others, we have been doing quite a bit of work, haven't we, particularly around the sediment-hosted St Arnaud deposit, right? To try and it has presented its complexities in the past, and obviously we want to understand it as best we can. So we're using the best in the business to try and do that.
Joseph, back in the early days of Fosterville, when it was run by Perseverance and was probably close down to 400 metres or so, it was Carlin-style disseminated mineralisation there, which then opened up to higher grade, which the Canadians have found. Is that higher or shallower mineralisation common across the Bendigo zone, and we're seeing any of that similar style that you might have seen back then?
I wouldn't have drawn similarities to Carlin. I've been to Carlin. It's more in they're different rock types. So I wouldn't say, because Carlin, you've got an alteration zone of this clay alteration in calcareous rocks, whereas we see the early days, I was there, well, they were mining down to, the base of oxidation. So that's, 40 odd meters was the depth of the pits. And then we drilled, obviously, I was part of a team that drilled the 900 meter sort of styled holes that were targeting the disseminated sulfide. So essentially, when they mine the open pit, there was evidence of nuggety gold in certain pits. Like, for instance, the Fosterville pit, well, what was called the Fosterville pit, did have nuggety gold. It had visible nuggets of gold in the quartz veining. And then the pits themselves, they were mined on a disseminated sulfide. So the sulfide had oxidized, the gold had liberated into the sediments. They would then mine the sediments. It was generally a fine-grained sandstone where you had good arsenopyrite disseminated sulfides that had oxidized, liberated the gold. Then they could crush that, put it on a simple heat leach, and then they'd just leach it out over a period of months. And then they just use a basic electrolysis to rip strip the carbon and produce the gold. So it was a pretty cheap and efficient way to recover a lot of gold. But before they hit the Swan, there wasn't those high grade gold events that you see that, of the Swan lode where you get those bonanza grades. It was more, it linked along, as everyone knows, if you read the story of Fosterville, it linked along for a long time as the poor cousin to Bendigo. And it was, those medium odd grades is 7 grams per ton sort of thing that carried it through to them to around 900 meters or so when they were then, or however deep they were when they finally drilled out and were able to target the Swan from underground. I doubt that the Swan would ever been drilled from surface. It would be very deep holes, and I don't think anyone had the idea that was the mineralizing controls, and they didn't have the robust geological model they have now.
All right, we'll move along to, let me see, we have one here. The approach to drilling deeper in previously, is the approach to drill deeper in previously drilled areas, or is it to try new areas near previously drilled? How much? Sorry,
Well, I can answer that first part if you
Yeah.
like. The first part of the question was, well, that's what these blue holes were in the resolution drilling. We'd stepped out beyond the mineral resource. It was around 250 odd meters outside of the mineral resource. It was targeting a down plunge. Now, the danger with stepping out like that is what's happened is we believe we've drilled underneath the plunge. We've hit this structure, but we've drilled under the plunge of the mineralization. So that's why we went back, put the wedge in to get us up higher into the plunge, and then we put the hole number 46 in, which brought us up higher again. So we're looking at trying to target the up or the down plunge extensions, but when you step out too far, you can quickly lose the ore body. So it's getting that balance right of stepping out enough that you've still got your controls and you still understand. That's why, again, if you build the geological model and have a better, robust geological model, stepping out becomes a little easier because you've got more constraint on your actual controls. And I think this is what's lacking. These holes we obviously planned and drilled before I arrived, but it's one thing I've noticed straight away that we need to tighten up the geology, understand the controls, and then these step out holes will be a better approach moving forward because we'll have a real understanding. And then I think also there's like James said, there's scope for further exploration between the two lodes. I'm seeing evidence that potentially we're looking at the orogenic event, the structures propagating, and whether there's something that hasn't showed up in the geophysics that there's an opportunity to explore beneath that gap between the two. Now you can see there is some anomalous zones at surface, so we know that the fertility is there on that structure. And we're also seeing, because we have mineralization on the western flank, we know if we've got structures and we've got the fertility, we're going to get mineralization propagating along those structures. So yes, I think there's a dual approach where we want to step out, drill down plunge, but we also want to target some new development areas higher, closer to surface.
Well, that leads nicely into, we've had a few questions here on budget for the drilling program coming ahead. Can you give us some colour on that, please, James?
Absolutely. So we accelerated the spend a little bit by bringing in that additional drill rig. As you can see from our, you might have read it in our quarterly, we've got well over $4 million cash in the bank at the moment, which is terrific. And we're really planning out now just to ensure that we can ensure that those dollars last as long as possible. So 12 months is our aim. We had 12 months expenditure certainly when we recapitalized and came onto the market in late November. We started drilling in January. That's when we started the continuous exploration program then with one drill rig. And if you remember at the time then, that was designed to last us 15 months if we went slowly. We've accelerated that, and we've got terrific support now, bringing in that money from the placement that we did do in June, and we really appreciate the very strong support that we had from a very small number of people. So we're very privileged to have those backers behind us as we accelerate and keep the exploration program churning. And the good thing about the continuous exploration is that I'm always asking Joseph every week, how are our results in the lab? When are we going to get the results back? Because the guys are dropping core into the lab every week. So that's the whole idea of the design. And we've got the two projects underway in terms of the drilling. So yeah, Peter, we're well positioned to last us for 12 months now. But also, we really do look forward to seeing how the results speak to us over the coming weeks and over the coming months, particularly as we might have mentioned, as part of the original plan, the infill drilling will get underway in the coming days around the resolution load. But also, as Joseph said there, he's got some big ideas here about if we can get a discovery type of hole a little bit deeper into that 2,000 meter, 2 kilometer gap between the two lodes, or add a little bit to our understanding of the adventure lode, which is obviously the smaller of the two loads that we do have, and it presents a little bit of current complexity. But Joseph, why don't you just speak to the analysis that the exploration team did a couple of weeks ago about the prevalence of high-grade hits around Adventure relative to Resolution?
Yeah, so the team had a look at the number of holes that we drilled into Resolution versus the number of holes that we drilled into Adventure, and how many of each holes had hit high, what we consider mineralization above 0.5 grams per ton. And to our surprise, although everyone thought Adventure would be lagging behind, but it's actually hit for hit ratio. They're almost identical. If anything, Adventure's slightly ahead. So the prospectivity of Adventure is equal to that of Resolution. And I've got a couple of theories that I'm sort of churning in my head about the geology. And again, I keep banging on about robust geological models, but it is key, because if we can better understand, I think where there's a lot of work that we could do to quickly change the prospectivity of Adventure. And obviously, if we see it as the same prospectivity, then it's quick to add the ounces into Adventure. Like, we could rapidly sort of double our mineral inventory in this project itself, just between our two key targets here. And then obviously, if we can grow our understanding between the two, I see this is a quick way to double our current resource inventory.
Would be good. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's wrapped up our questions. I think there's been comments here welcoming you, Joseph, to the team, and I think we're all excited to see what interpretations you can make and how you can pull this puzzle together. We're looking forward to your experience coming across and with these drilling programs coming through the next few months.
Thank you, everyone, for the welcome messages.
All right.
That's great, Peter. And to the extent that people want to engage with us, please send us an email. We'll be at Diggers and Dealers next week. And there are a couple of conferences, including the Australian Gold Conference. I think that's in October, that we will be presenting at. But we're always open to getting comments and ideas from people. And I just want to say that we will load that video that I showed at the start. It's a really good compilation of all our projects wrapped together. It does have commentary that accompanies it. I understand the commentary couldn't be broadcast on the Zoom today, but we will load that onto our YouTube channel and have a link on the website, so that people can then also get an appreciation of the company they're invested in. And we're obviously, from a corporate perspective, we're quite a small company, but as you can appreciate, we have large projects and a large number of projects, and we're focused on the projects that we operate, plus the very valuable joint venture that we do have over in the Bendigo zone.
Thank you, James. And this video of the webinar will be made available to everybody who's registered and joined us today, and to everybody else, as well as the link to the video you were just discussing. So I want to thank you again for the presentation. Thank you to our audience for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from Aureka very soon.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, everyone.